Welcome back to another video. In this one, I want to talk about some ways that you can optimize your day and really get the most out of it. If you're new here, I'm making videos on productivity, personal development, lifestyle, and just being the best human you possibly can. So if that sounds interesting to you, definitely subscribe to the channel and you won't miss anything. Also, make sure to hit that bell button down below and let's jump right in. So picture this, you work a 9-to-5 job, but you want to have maybe a side hustle or something like that that can maybe increase the amount of money that you make or potentially even replace that 9-to-5 completely. So where do you start, right? Well, okay, you got to figure out something you can do, but one thing that you're going to come up against is managing your time. When it comes to having a 9-to-5 job, they can be a drain. The best hours of the day arguably are spent at that job. And of course, life happens. You want to still be able to enjoy time with your family, with your friends, with your dogs, with your pets, whatever. You still want to be able to go out and do stuff, but you know that you want to get that side hustle started. So how do you organize your day? Well, here are some ways that you can do that. What I like to do is think about this in terms of like a to-do list, right? It keeps you organized. It keeps you on task. It kind of gives you a good understanding of what you're intending to do that day. And it also tells you at the end of the day whether or not you've done it. This is pretty basic stuff. You've probably come across the concept of a to-do list many times before and from many different people. But you've probably not thought of organizing these to-do lists in any of these ways. So number one is one that I call big and small. Now I used this one personally for like 5 years and it worked really, really well. Now the first thing you want to know about this one is that it actually really helps to have some overarching, bigger, long-term goals already identified before starting this on a daily basis. Take a sheet of paper or open a new note in your notes app, whichever one you prefer, and create two sections, one called big and one called small. You'll then add to-do items to each of these sections with the constraints being as follows. Anything that you add to the big section needs to basically be something that is substantial, that is helping you work towards that overarching goal, that long-term goal. Anything that you put in the small section can be stuff that you really just need to get done throughout the day or throughout the week. For example, you might put in the big section, or actually let's backtrack a little bit. Let's say that your goal is creating an app. Something that you might put in the big section for today is maybe like creating the data model for the app, or maybe designing one of the pages of the app, one of the screens. Whereas something that you might put in the small section is doing the laundry. In other words, more broadly speaking, things that you put in the big section should be things that are getting you closer towards your milestone goals, toward those big goals that you have. Things that you put in the small section should be stuff that you really just need to get done, but you want to make sure that you get it done, such as folding the laundry or maybe going grocery shopping or something along those lines. Real quick, if you want to actually read this stuff in detail, so not just hear me talk about it, but if you want to actually read an article or a post with maybe a little bit more detail, check out the links in the description below. I posted this on my Substack as well as my Medium as well. So be sure to check those out. All right, let's jump into our next one. This one I call must do and could do. And I've used this as well. Actually, I've used all of these to be honest. But this one is something that I came up with to kind of understand, well, I mean, as the names imply, what are the things that I have to get done today in order for today to be a successful day? And what are the things that I could do today in that once I get through all of the must-do items, I could do some other things if I'm feeling up to it. Now, this doesn't have anything to do with your long-term goals or those big goals that you have. It really just comes down to, in order to have a successful day, what are the things that I have to do in order for me to feel as though today was successful? And then separately, or maybe after that, what are the things that I could do in order to feel that today is extra successful, but the must-do has to get done? You can prioritize these however you want. So if you, for some reason, feel that doing the laundry is a must-do item while doing your homework, or maybe designing that screen in your app are things that you could get done, then by all means, prioritize it accordingly. But the general idea here is that you want to just have an idea of the things that you have to do today in order to have a successful day versus the things that you could do to maybe make the day feel a little bit better for you, but you've already gotten stuff done. And the key here is that you only do the things in the could do section once you complete everything in the must do section. Don't forget that, hence the names must do, could do. The next one is called Kanban. Now, I didn't make this one up. The other two, I'm pretty sure I did, or I think I did. I think this one was inspired by the Toyota production system like years ago. If you're someone who works in software engineering or product management, you'll probably be pretty familiar with this one. And even other people might be familiar with it too. It's very common. And also kind of maybe adds a bit more process or feeling as though there is process to your daily tasks. Now, if you like that, by all means, go for it. If you don't, you might not really care for this one. But the great thing about this is that it provides more of a visual understanding of where things are in the kind of the process of getting done. Essentially, you just take all of your items, you put them into different columns, right? So you'd have a column for to do. You put everything that you want to get done in that to do column. And then you move them into different columns as they progress through whatever stages they're in throughout the day or throughout the week or however you want to do this. So you'd have a to do in its most basic form. You'd have a to do and a done, right? And then you can prioritize in the to-do column however you want. So there's a bit more flexibility and freedom in this, but there's also a little bit more process in that you have these columns. And to me at least, that just kind of feels as though there's a bit more process going on when you have more of that visual kind of aspect to it. And that can be good sometimes. If you want to learn more about Kanban though, there's so many different things out there that talk about this. So I would highly recommend going and reading one of those. So this next one I call weekly day by day. And so essentially, the reason that I came up with this idea, and again, I'm sure that somewhere someone has, come up with ideas similar to this, but I've not heard of it. So the reason that I kind of came up with this is because the big and small approach and the must do, could do approach didn't really give me as much of a broader context into the whole week, what I was getting done. I felt as though each one was kind of in a vacuum, like each day, which obviously isn't true. So I came up with this, which I call weekly day by day. Just like with the big and small, this one helps if you have some bigger long-term goals already kind of established or determined ahead of time. But essentially what you do is you start with, create the title of this week, like the first day in the week. So if you want to start on Sunday, start on Sunday. If you want to start on Monday, start on Monday. And then after that, put a goals section. List 3 to 5 things that you want to be your goals for this week. They should be things that you can't get done in a single day. Like with before, you could get those things done in the big and small in a single day. They should be things that you have to basically take an entire week to do. So a little bit better. So instead of maybe just designing like one screen in your app, maybe you're going to design the entire app, right? Something like that. The next thing you're going to do is create a section under there for each day and then add 3 to 5 items for each day, basically. That's your to-do list. And do the same thing on the same sheet of paper or the same note or whatever each day for that week. And so then you can look back week by week and understand, okay, this is what I intended to get done. These are the things that I tried to do to get them done. Did I get it done? Did I not get it done? You can kind of get a little bit more context. It's basically, if every day is the ground level, like that on the ground view, then this is kind of like a 1,000 foot view, and then maybe a month would be a 10,000 foot view and so on. Now, the last thing I want to do is give you guys some helpful tips as to how you can take these already, what I think are good ideas, but make them maybe even better. So the first one is try combining these things. So for example, maybe you could take the weekly day by day that we just talked about, and maybe you could add in the big and small for each day, or the must do, can do, or could do for each day. That would be a way that you can kind of combine stuff and really get the best of what each one is doing individually, but kind of get a little bit better of an approach by combining them. I haven't personally tried that out. That's kind of going to be my next thing that I try out. And so maybe I'll make a video on how that went. We'll see. The next tip that I have for you guys on this one is to try and limit the number of to-dos that you have each day. Now, this might seem obvious, but if you're like me, and I think I have a little ADHD somewhere in there, I kind of have a lot on my mind, and I always tell myself, oh yeah, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do that. I don't want to forget these things, and so I'll just put them in the to-do list, but it becomes a very unrealistic list that I can actually work through. So I end up not really finishing everything, which is not helpful for my mental health. So what you should do is maybe try and limit to 3 to 5 in each section or for each day. That's kind of a sweet spot that I had found. And then what you can do is create an on my mind section where you just kind of drop everything else. It's kind of like a backlog in Jira if you've ever used Jira. And so that way you won't really forget about things. All right, thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you did. Leave a comment down below letting me know which one you're going to try next if you plan to try any of these. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. See ya.